you know, to, if you, instead of just eating an apple because it's an apple, to really kind of reflect on, all right, it started as this little seed, and then all the kind of the all the elements, you know, the sunlight, the water, the rain, and then it grew into a tree, and then grew into fruit, and then there were all these different flowers, and then there were bees and birds and all these insects that then transformed into a fruit, and then someone picked the apple, for example. Then it was, you know, brought to somewhere where it was then transported to somewhere else, and just to kind of think about the whole story of how that, yeah, that amazing journey, and how much energy was involved in getting that apple to you, to start kind of really enjoying those things, and really kind of realizing that, wow, that energy in that apple, all that thing, all these people and animals and the nature that was involved, and love, exactly. You know, you're putting that into your body, and it's becoming part of who you are. To really kind of use those stories to fall in love with it. And, you know, it's about, you know, going for long walks and really enjoying the air and the fascination for nature, you know, forest bathing, and then finding a herb that's growing there, and you realizing, wow, that's growing here, and we can eat that, and it could become part of my dish. And you know, I'm working with a girl who really young, which a child basically, and she's really heavy, well, symptoms of anorexia, and it's also for her to kind of fall in love with what food is, and how it's part of nature and a bigger whole, and how it connects us to our environment, and kind of just taking the pressure of eat the plate of food, but really just zooming out and taking a step back, and falling in love with all these different flavors and textures and qualities, and trying to connect to the source of ingredients. I think really helped, you know, going to farmers market, talking to the farmers. You know, as I said, like foraging is an incredible thing if you can find someone to help with that.
We did that in Bali. I went on a women's retreat and we did foraging, and then we ate the food afterwards, and it was like we
Ah,
found little ferns, and they made it into this like spicy sambali like sauce. Like, oh, it was so good, and you just feel like the prana, like the energy, life force.
oh my God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I worked and lived in Ecuador quite a few months in a very high class restaurant. The chef was on Netflix. So anyway, but it was a restaurant just by the coast, and it was a completely plant-based restaurant, unless they could catch some fish or something. But we would literally go for like half a day. We'd go into the forest, into the rainforest, and like in mud, and like be climbing. And the first time we went, I had no idea what we were looking for, but I was just like with the team of the other cooks, and you're like covered in mud, and it was raining, and you're using like the vines of the trees to pull yourself up, and literally all we were going for were these fucking tiny little tomatoes, that, like the wild tomatoes, like half a day of like trekking to get to. We come home and you're like scratched, you've been bitten by 1,000 mosquitoes, like you got like the face mask of mud, and you've got this like one basket of little tomatillos, and really. But then you make this dish with it, and you eat these tomatoes that you do nothing with, and it's just like you want to cry. You just feel like this story is like becoming part of your body, and it's just, you know, that's what food's about. It's this incredible ecosystem, and it's just, we're part of that, and we just feel we're so detached from what's going on around us, and so detached from our body. We're so in our head, and food, you know, with senses and where it comes from, and realizing that every little part is part of a bigger whole, and that we're part of that. And it's a really magical, very romantic, very poetic world to step into.